Hello class, hope you're doing well. This presentation today, this PowerPoint is going to be about the criminal justice introduction or information, real basic stuff for you. And again, everything from today on that you see, participate in, discuss, view is testable for your first exam. So make sure you look at this PowerPoint, listen to what I have to say, and again, if you have any questions, you can put that in the discussion board or you can email me. So again, any questions you have, just let me know. So this short presentation is just concerning the criminal justice system, a real basic introduction. First of all, I would like to talk about myself just very briefly. And as my brief introduction, I was kind of a juvenile delinquent when I was growing up, and I spent a lot of time here, which is the juvenile hall in Martinez, California. Never had any convictions as a juvenile, but had some issues going on. So I spent a lot of time in this place, pretty barren, pretty ugly. But obviously, after my juvenile delinquency days, I went on and did better things, as most people do. From there, after my juvenile hall days, I went into the Correctional Officer Academy and became a correctional officer with the California Department of Corrections. So there I am, big and tall, white teeth, square jaw, about 7 feet tall, happy, ready to go to work. And about 2 years later, this is what I look like. And I don't know what's going on with that hair. I got that white, ashy, gray look, burned out. And basically, that was because I was burned out. For about 2 years, working a lot of overtime, kind of losing sight of the family and what I wanted to do. Became very burned out. So in your future careers, whatever you do, if you feel you're going to be burned out or getting burned out, need to take a vacation, change jobs, promote, or do something. Don't look like this, okay? Don't look like that. Everything came out okay, though. After I was a correctional officer for about 2.5 years, I became a parole agent out in the field, and then moved up and around within the department. So everything was great, but don't look like that. All right, so we're going to talk about the criminal justice process. What do you think the first step is in the criminal justice process? The first step, what do you think it is? It's a criminal act. A criminal act has to occur. A criminal act is a crime that is codified, that means written down, and has a punishment attached. In California and most other states, we have a penal code. So all crimes are located in our penal code. So it says what the crime is and the punishment attached. So a crime has to be codified, has to be written down with a punishment attached. We'll go into more of this when we go into criminal law on chapter 4. So first thing, criminal act occurs. Next, we're going to talk about the 3 components of the criminal justice system, which are law enforcement, courts, and corrections, and they go in order. Okay? Law enforcement. First, the crime is reported, either by 911, citizen comes up to a law enforcement officer, reports a crime. At that point, an investigation begins. The first investigators on the scene of a crime are usually the police officers or sheriff that are patrolling the area. So they become the initial investigators. Once the initial investigation starts, hopefully there's an arrest. That's what they're looking for, gathering evidence, talking to witnesses, and they can arrest somebody on scene. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. If the person arrested is a juvenile under 18, they will go through the juvenile system. We'll talk more about juveniles in chapter 15. If it's an adult, they're arrested, they're taken through the booking process at the jail. That's where they're photographed, fingerprinted, mugshot taken. They're seen by the mental health folks, the doctors and nurses to make sure they're okay to be housed. They're looked at their previous criminal history. They're looked at for gang membership, if they can be celled with others. And also a bail schedule is looked at that time, depending on what the crime is. Booking process can take an hour, can take 4 hours, depending on how backed up the jail is. once in booking and the person is in jail or has been released on bail, they're charged. And the district attorney of the county charges people with crimes. And this is California we're talking about. So the police investigate the crime and bring the evidence, the case, to the district attorney, and the district attorney decides if there's enough there to charge the person with a crime. If there's not enough to charge the person, they're immediately released from jail if they haven't made bail, and the police have to do more work to gather more evidence because the DA wants to get a conviction. So that's why they look at the charging aspects. If they don't think they can get a conviction, they're probably not going to take the case. All through this process from now on, the person can be released, okay? If the charges are dropped or they're not picked up by the DA, the person is released. If the person is not released, they cannot make bail, they have an initial appearance 48 hours after their arrest in California. And at that time, they plead either guilty, not guilty, guilty by reason of insanity, or no contest. And during this time, at the initial appearance, if they cannot afford an attorney, one will be offered to them by the judge. So the initial appearance is very quick and doesn't have a lot of information about it. Again, they can be released at the initial appearance if the judge does not think that there's enough evidence, or they make bail. And again, there's their pleas that they can be made. Guilty, not guilty, no contest, guilty by reason of insanity. The most common is not guilty, and the least common is guilty by reason of insanity. Next is the preliminary hearing, and that's where more evidence is shown from the DA about what the crime was and why the person did it. And then the defense, or the person that's being charged, is going to present opposing evidence about why they don't think they did that. Usually, if there's enough evidence, they're going to continue this preliminary hearing. We're not going to talk about a grand jury right now, but after the preliminary hearing, the person, again, can be released on bail. The charge can be dropped. So this is a time when a lot of things are going on, and also they're looking at plea bargains at this point, behind the scenes. We're not going to look at indictments or information either right now. So at the arraignment, that's when official charges are levied, are spoken in court, and this is when the court is about to begin. Once a person is arraigned on official charges, official information, evidence has been given to both sides, and they're ready for a trial. Again, prior to most trials, most people plead out. So they plead to a lesser offense. If it's drunk driving, they plead to reckless driving. So most criminal indictments or criminal cases are satisfied by pleas. Very few cases go to trial because of costs, because of 3 strikes laws, things like that. But once you do go to trial, there's 2 types of trials. There's a bench trial or a jury trial. Bench trial is a judge only, and you can request that. Most people request a jury trial. So 2 types of trials. The original term of a trial is called a compurgation. At a trial, once you go through the trial, you can be you can be acquitted, and then you will be released, or you can be found guilty. Now it's interesting because when you're acquitted, it doesn't mean you're not guilty. It just means that there was not enough evidence that the jury or judge could find to find you guilty. So you're not guilty, you're acquitted. And once you've been acquitted of a charge, you can never be held again or tried for the same charge. That's called double jeopardy, and we'll talk about that also. If you are convicted, you go to the sentencing phase. The sentencing phase can entail jail, prison, probation, a lot of different avenues that the judge has. If it's a misdemeanor, you may go to jail. If it's a felony, you may go to prison. All cases of felony convictions, you have the right to an appeal. That's one of the safeguards that we have for our criminal justice system. So every felony conviction, you can appeal. You may not win, but you have the right to appeal. The only thing with appeals is that if you plead guilty to a lesser charge, you give up your right to an appeal. So think about that. Would you do that if you were charged with robbery with a gun and you didn't do it? Would you plead to assault, a lesser offense? But then you can never appeal that sentence. So a lot of people are in jail for things that they didn't do, and a lot of people are in prison for things they did not do, but they were either convicted or they pled. So there are innocent people there, but there are also a whole lot of guilty people also. So that's the court section. As far as corrections, jail in California holds mostly misdemeanors and some felons. The original term of jail as we know it is jail, coming from England, G-A-O-L, pronounced the same. And jail can be under an intermediate sanction, which we'll talk more about when we get to Chapter 11. Jail usually is followed by probation. And again, we'll have a whole chapter on probation that'll come up in Chapter 12. That term probation means a period of proving or trial. It's a Latin term. Prison, on the other hand, is different. Prison is run by the state in California. Jail is run by the counties. If you go to prison in California, it's for felonies only. There's nobody in prison that has committed a misdemeanor. You cannot be sentenced to prison for a misdemeanor. So the next time you're at a party and your crazy Uncle Jay's talking because he's drunk and talks about how he's in prison for some misdemeanor crime, you need to check him on that because you can't go to prison for a misdemeanor. So with jail, you get probation, usually. Not always. Sometimes it's just a straight jail term, but mostly it's followed up with probation. If you go to prison in California, you automatically will be on parole, usually for about 3 years. So again, jail, probation, prison, parole. We'll talk more about these differences coming up in some chapters, probably in Chapter 13. Parole is a French term meaning spoken word or promise. Again, we'll go over these terms more so in later chapters. This is just an overview for you. Finally, where do you think that criminal activity is documented? Everybody know what that's called? What's that called? Have you seen it in movies and on TV shows where they come out and they say, okay, look at this guy's rap sheet. Rap sheet. What does rap mean? R-A-P. Does anybody know what that means? What's a rap sheet? You've heard it, talked about it. Bet you nobody knows what it means. I'll bet you that you can bet somebody that you know that's a law enforcement officer that they don't even know the meaning of the term rap sheet. Rap sheet stands for Record of Arrest and Prosecution. Record of Arrest and Prosecution. So next time you talk to your law enforcement friends, bet them $5 that they don't know what that means, what the acronym for RAP is. And just for fun, we'll show you a person that probably has a rap sheet. And I'm not sure about that tattoo on the neck, how well they're going to be able to get a job. They may have to wear a big collar or something there. So, with that said, that is a very brief overview of the criminal justice system. Again, if you have any questions, go ahead and put that on the discussion board, or you can shoot me an email. And if not, again, read this, understand it. A lot of the stuff is in the book in different areas, but I just wanted to put this together for you as a very brief introduction. All right, have a great day, folks.